Well, good morning and welcome to Quest Church. My name is Sarah McDonald. I'm the executive pastor here at Quest, and I am so glad that you all have braved the weather and decided to come out here this morning, because I think this is the best way to spend the Sunday before Christmas here at Quest. And I also want to say that if you have been new here to Quest and you have not filled out one of those orange Connect cards yet, which are located in the seat pockets right in front of you, I would love for you to do so at this time. Simply fill it out, and then on your way out of worship today, you can drop them off in one of those orange Connect card boxes. But whether you are here for the first time or maybe you are coming back home because you live out of town or you're coming back here to Quest, or you've been here at Quest, I just want to say welcome to each and every one of you. And if you're joining us online, thank you for tuning in as well. I also wanted to remind you guys that Christmas Eve is coming up very quickly. It's on Tuesday night, and we are going to have 3 services here at Quest at 3, 5, and 7 o'clock. So make sure you mark your calendars, tell your family what service you will be attending, invite your friends to that as well. And as a reminder, we have our kids services from birth to 5th grade during those service times. So make sure you bring your kids and your whole family out for that. We would love to see you on Tuesday. Now, it's crazy because even as I tell you about Christmas Eve, I'm like, that's on Tuesday. That's only a few days away, because maybe your kids woke you up like mine did, and they're like, Christmas is 3 days away! And you're like, oh, Christmas is 3 days away. You know, we have a different kind of excitement when it comes down to this, because I literally felt like on Friday when my kids came home from school, I was like, didn't they just get out for summer break? How are they back again for Christmas break? Now, for all of you teachers, I know you thought something completely different, and you were like, amen, get out the door on Friday. But as parents, we're like, where did the time go? And here's the crazy part, is because this happens to me every Christmas. I feel like it's maybe the craziness or whatever it is, but it's the rushing and all of it. And all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, Christmas is here. And for these last few weeks, I've kind of been feeling not very Christmassy. And maybe that's been the same thing for you. Maybe because I've been reading some of your social media posts actually this morning that said, it just doesn't feel like Christmas. I know Christmas is coming, but I just don't feel very Christmassy. And I get it. I get it, because I felt like these last few weeks, I've kind of just been like numb. I've just kind of been going through the motions, and I've been looking at especially my kids, and I'm like, can I just have a little bit of your excitement? Again, I don't need all of it. I don't think the world cannot handle me with that kind of excitement. I just want a little bit of that wonder that they have about Christmas and the excitement, because I've been telling my friends that this season, I felt like I've been fighting for joy. Like, it's joy that I know that I want to have and I know that I should have, but it's like I've been fighting to have it. Why? Because just the things of the world are not falling in line to allow me to be able to feel this joy. And so I went into this message going like, there has to be more to Christmas than this, and like how I'm feeling. And so I started asking this question. I was asking, how do I prepare for Christmas? Now, I'm not talking about the normal preparations, because if you know me, you know that I have that like very, very clear to-do list of things and when it's going to happen and what's going to happen and what gifts and who they're for and when they get wrapped and all that. I have a whole time schedule for all of that. I'm good there. And maybe you're the same way. You already have it planned out. You already gone grocery shopping. You've already got it all, your Christmas meal planned. You're like, I'm prepared. But I'm talking about something even deeper than that. You might be going, well, Sarah, I've been preparing. I'm here, aren't I? I'm here at church. That's what I should do. I'm even coming to Christmas Eve, and I've been doing an Advent devotion. I've been reading this along the way. I even have an Advent wreath at my house. I'm preparing, and all those things are good things to do. But sometimes we get caught up in the, like, just going through the motions of doing that. You see, I'm talking about something even deeper of how do I prepare my heart and my soul for Christmas, because I just kind of don't feel it right now. Because I was even looking at the Advent wreath this morning, it's like they were lighting it, and the candles on the Advent wreath symbolize different things. They symbolize like hope and peace and joy and love. And I was like, as I was praying this, I'm like, yeah, those things, I'm fighting for them, but they're just not coming naturally to me. And I want to feel those things coming into Christmas. So I'm like, how do I prepare for Christmas? Because I believe on this Sunday before Christmas, just 3 days before, we still have time. We still have time to prepare our hearts for Christmas. And so that's what I really want to talk about today. And so I started looking at the Christmas story, and I realized that there are some things that kind of happen before the traditional Christmas story starts. You see, if you grew up in church, then you know it usually starts with an angel appeared to Mary. And it's like, hey, God had this crazy idea, and he's going to use you, and you're going to have this baby, and by the way, you're only engaged, and like people aren't going to like you, but trust me. It usually starts off with that, right? Well, there's something that happens before all of that. Because, see, an angel appeared to somebody else. And there's this whole other thing. See, God's plan actually started before all of it. And so I was just intrigued by how did God prepare for the first Christmas? What was his plan? And so we're going to look at that. Now, some of you that have gone to church your whole lives, you're like, no, 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 no. It's the Sunday before Christmas. We talk about the Christmas story. We do these things. We do all that. Sorry. That's not where we're going today. We're going to look at how did God prepare the way? How is he still preparing the way? And what can we learn from it? And so what I'm going to read from you today is just a part of a story, and it's in Luke's gospel. And Luke is one of the writers that decided in the New Testament to recount the stories of what happened with Jesus. And so my Advent devotion this Christmas season was to read one chapter of Luke every day, because there's 24 chapters, and it's beautifully and it's perfect, because then Christmas Eve you read the last chapter and then you know all about Jesus. And so it was a great plan. But then when I started it, I realized that Luke didn't start with Jesus. And I was like, somebody messed up this Advent devotional. It's supposed to start with, our traditional Christmas story. And so this is how Luke starts things off. And I will just kind of tell you ahead of time, he first is going to lead us up to it and say, like, hey, by the way, I know what I'm talking about. Like, just in case you had any questions about that. He's going to say, I know what I'm talking about. And he's going to go into a story about some people that I want us to dig in deeper to. So here it is. So here's Luke chapter 1, verses 1 through 20. It says, many people, this is Luke talking, have set out to write accounts about the events that have been fulfilled among us, so that they've already all been fulfilled. They use the eyewitness reports circulating among us from the early disciples, and having carefully investigated everything from the beginning, I have also decided to write an accurate account for you so that you can be certain of the truth of everything you were taught. So he's like, this is all true, so listen to me. So he goes into telling this story about when Herod, king of Judea, there was a Jewish priest named Zechariah. So we're going to meet Zechariah. He was a member of the priestly order of Abijah, and the wife Elizabeth. So now we meet Elizabeth. Elizabeth and Zechariah are married, who was also from the priestly line of Aaron. And Zechariah and Elizabeth were righteous in God's eyes, careful to obey all the Lord's commandments and regulations. Basically, they're really awesome people, is what he's saying. They came from a great bloodline, and they just do everything right, so they are awesome people. They had no children of their own because Elizabeth was unable to conceive, and they were both very old. So one day, Zechariah was serving God in the temple, for his order was on duty that week, so he was just doing his job. As was the custom of the priest, he was chosen by lot to enter the sanctuary of the Lord and burn incense. While the incense was being burned, a great crowd stood outside and was praying. While Zechariah was in the sanctuary, an angel of the Lord appeared to him standing to the right of the incense altar. Zechariah is just doing what he's supposed to be doing. Like, I thought about it this morning, like kind of when we were setting up and stuff, he would have been kind of setting up, doing stuff, and then all of a sudden, an angel of the Lord appears. And Zechariah was shaken and overwhelmed with fear when he saw him. Would you not be too? It disappears. And then, of course, the angel says what the angel says in all of Scripture all the time, says, do not be afraid. Don't worry about me. I'm just this thing like with light all around me. It's all good. Don't be afraid, Zechariah. God has heard your prayer. And your wife, Elizabeth, will give you a son, and you are to name him John. You'll have great joy and gladness, and many will rejoice at his birth, For he will be great in the eyes of the Lord. And he gives them kind of some specifics, like he must never touch wine or other alcoholic drinks. He will be filled with the Holy Spirit even before his birth. And he will turn many Israelites to the Lord their God. He will be a man with the spirit and power of Elijah. He will prepare the people for the coming of the Lord. He will turn the hearts of fathers to their children. He will cause those who are rebellious to accept the wisdom and the godly. So the angel says all this, and then Zechariah responds this way. He says, how can I be sure this is all going to happen? Because you see, I'm an old man now, and my wife is also well along in years. Okay, y'all, I like Zechariah here because he doesn't say my wife's old too. He says, she's well along in her years. He's a smart man. So the angel goes, excuse me, I'm Gabriel. In case you didn't know this, I'm an angel. I stand in the very presence of God. It was he who sent me to you to bring this good news. But now, since you don't believe what I've said, you will be silent and unable to speak until the child is born. For my words will certainly be fulfilled at the proper time. And so this story goes on that Zechariah leaves from the temple, and remember there's that whole crowd gathering outside. Well, Zechariah cannot speak. So they're like, whoa, he must have seen a vision. This is awesome. But Zechariah can't say anything to them. So then he goes home, and he still can't talk, y'all, and then his wife becomes pregnant. Y'all, I thought about this, and I shared this because my husband was at the first service. I think Matt would have actually been excited if I came to church one day and then I came home and couldn't talk at all. He'd be like, God, I don't know what you did, but you heard my prayers with things. But I think Elizabeth was kind of like, it might have been good for a day. And then she's like, what happened? And he can't fully say it. He could probably write it, but it's different than being like an angel showed up and holy moly, all this stuff happened. So Elizabeth becomes pregnant, and she's ecstatic because it's something that she's been praying for the whole time. And then 6 months into her pregnancy, Mary shows up on her doorstep. Now, Mary is that person that I was referring to that's a part of the Christmas story, that's Jesus' mom. So the angels already appeared to her, and she's pregnant with Jesus. And so Mary shows up, and Elizabeth shows up. And now, mind you, there hasn't been this whole pregnancy announcement across all the area. So Elizabeth didn't even know that Mary was pregnant and all this. And so they're standing there, 2 pregnant women at the doorstep. And it says in scripture that then John, who is inside of Elizabeth, that he leaps with joy. And then at that moment, Elizabeth looks at Mary and says, wow, you're carrying the Messiah. And here's the thing, we read that, friends, and I'm like, how did Elizabeth know? Remember? An angel didn't appear to her. All these things, but in that moment, there's an amazing mother's intuition and faith in God to be like, I know. Because remember, John is already filled with the Holy Spirit even before he's born. And so this crazy thing happens. And what I love is this one line that Mary says to Elizabeth. She says this, Mary, you are blessed because you believed that the Lord would do what he said. And I had to stop there for a minute, and I went, whew, that's good, you see, because Mary believed that the Lord would do what he said. That crazy story that the angel said to her, she believed, and it was coming true. And I thought about it because, during Christmas time, we hear a lot about believing in things. Believing's over everywhere. You see it all over the place. And we believe in some things that are kind of far-fetched, and we believe in some things that I'm not even going to mention about in this room right now. We believe, and we say that a lot, but there's something deeper here. Because you see, what I think that's kind of even happening in my life and maybe in yours is, I believe in God. I call myself a believer. I believe in all those things. But getting down to it, but do I believe that God's going to do what he said he's going to do? You see, there's something deeper. There's something that's happening in my heart. And maybe, just maybe, that could be what's standing in the way for me this Christmas. Maybe there's doubt hanging in the air for me. There's something else that I can't fully get there. because of whatever is happening, whatever is standing in the way, whatever is just not going according to my plan, not going according to the way I want it, that I'm going, God, do I really believe you're going to do what you said you were going to do? Because see, here's the thing. I relate to Zechariah a lot in this story. You see, Zechariah came to a place, and I believe he showed up at the temple, and he was just like going through the motions. He was doing what God wanted, even desired for him to do, but he was going in with kind of a callous and a hard heart. He was just doing it, just to do it. And I believe that he was just numb inside. You see, he'd been praying this prayer for years that they would have a child, and it hasn't happened yet. And so Zechariah was struggling, and I was telling my kids this morning, I was like, Zechariah just wasn't on the struggle bus, like he was driving the struggle bus in this story. He was like, I'm still going to show up at, God, I don't know what you have for me. And I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? Zechariah couldn't even see the wonder of God. That's what we've been talking about in this series is the wonder of God. I'm like, man, he should have been here for this series. Because as we've been talking about being like patient in the waiting, having joy in the waiting, Zechariah didn't have that. He'd been waiting a long time. He was done with that. And even to the point that he couldn't see the message in the mess of everything that was happening. And he missed it. He missed it when an angel appeared to him and said, I'm giving you everything you've wanted. And his response isn't thank you, it's how. And I went, ooh, that hits a little too close to home. Because I feel like a lot of times God says, here it is, and I go, but let's walk through this. How's that going to happen? When's that going to happen? You know, I already have this on the schedule for this. Like, what are you going to do with this? And Zechariah, he missed it at this moment in time. And what I love is that the angel was so nice, because I thought about this, and I'm so glad that I'm not some of these characters in the story, because if I was the angel, like, you know, times you just want to like smite somebody, like, because they're not listening, and be like, poof! Like, I have all the power. You are not listening. I would be like, my job is to come down here and tell you that this was happening, and then you are going to be happy, and we're going to all go about our like lives. This is great. But that's not what happened. And the angel was basically like, Zechariah, you're an idiot. Like, God sent me to you to do all this. And then I was reading in some commentary this week, and one of the commentators said that the angel basically said this. He said, just be quiet for a while and watch God work. You see, he closed his mouth for 9 months, and he basically said, shh, 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 shh. Quit arguing. Quit trying to figure this out. Just be quiet for a while and watch God work. And I think for a lot of us, we need to hear that today. There's been craziness, there's been stuff going around, things have not gone your way. And what I know about a lot of us, and maybe especially women, is that when things don't go our way, we just get on the phone, we just start talking. I call my friend, I call my next friend, I call my mentor, I call everybody. And I'm like, let me tell you what happened. And I just start talking. And I get in this place and my heart starts going that way too. And so many times we just need to stop and watch God work. But here's what I believe is I believe that so many of us have stopped believing in God, have stopped believing in him. We've stopped believing because we have stopped watching. We've stopped watching God work. And that's why we can't see it and all that, because you see, God was working that whole time with Zechariah. And even when an angel, you know, I was thinking, I pray all the time, God, send me a billboard. Like, I need it to be clear as day what it is. He sent Zechariah a billboard. It was an angel. And Zechariah still went, I don't know. How's that going to happen? Because he had stopped watching. And friends, I believe that maybe, just maybe, in order to really prepare for Christmas this year, you've got to start believing so you can start seeing that God is still at work. He's not done yet. But here's why I believe we have stopped believing. Is because God's not working in your plan. Like, you had it all figured out, and you had it all like a timeline set, kind of like Zechariah, and God didn't fit into your plan. And here's the spoiler alert. He's not going to. And he never has, and he never will. It's not like he was looking down from heaven one day and was like, oh, Sarah had a really good plan. Yeah, we're going to go with that one. That one was better than mine. He's not. He's not going to, but we get frustrated and we stop believing and we start looking for him because he's not doing it according to our plan. Because somehow we think, or maybe you felt this week, because I did. I was like, God, you have messed up the plan. You've just messed it up. And what the truth is that whatever is going on in your life, God didn't mess up the plan because he is the plan. Why you are here, why there is Christmas, why everything is happening, it's him. The answer is always him. It's the best test you could ever take. The answer is always Jesus. It's great. But we get so wrapped up in it, and that's where our hearts start becoming so callous. You see, Elizabeth didn't even know the plan. She didn't even know the whole plan because the angel appeared to Zechariah. An angel appeared to Mary and to Joseph. An angel did not appear to Elizabeth. And somehow, she was okay with that. And I was like, oh, I want to have faith like Elizabeth. To go, because I am the one that's like, God, show me the whole thing, the whole plan. And she just went, let's roll with it. Here we go. My husband can't talk, not sure why, but I have this baby that I've been longing for forever. God, I see what you're doing. God, I see you because I believe in you and I believe in your promises to me. You see, she trusted in her place in this whole entire plan because she knew that there was something bigger than her because she was going to give birth to a son named John, and we would later call him John the Baptist, who would prepare the way for others to be able to experience Jesus. And what I love is that in John's gospel, it kind of shares a little bit about what John's main agenda, what his main plan is, and it says this, that there was a man, God sent a man, John the Baptist, to tell about the light, and the light was that of Jesus, so that everyone might believe because of his testimony. John himself was not the light. He was simply a witness to tell about the light, the one who is the true light, who gives light to everyone who is coming into the world. You see, Elizabeth understood this. She understood it. She understood that John, this baby that she was carrying, he was not the light, but Jesus was. And I think that says a lot to us is because, friends, this Christmas, I feel like one of the things standing in our way is that it's somehow become all about us. It's somehow become all about me. And here's the thing about Christmas. Are you ready? It's about Jesus. That's the plan. That's why the first Christmas ever even happened. It was about Jesus, but we so often get so wrapped up in ourselves. And that hit me that was like, I'm not the light. He is. Everything I do should be pointing towards him. And I really feel like if we can change our perspective today, if we could make it not all about us and all about him, I really think we could enjoy Christmas this year. Because what if we stopped looking inward and we really started looking upward? It's actually really not that complicated. You're literally looking from here to up here. There's not that much change. But what it really does take is a heart change to go, yeah, you know what? It's really not about me. It's really not about the gifts. It's really not about the people that are around the tree. It's really about Jesus. And then what if, friends, what if then our kids saw that? What if then our neighbors saw that? What if people that don't believe in Jesus saw that there was something different because it really was not about me? But here's where it gets very real, is that things are going to happen. Your plans are going to get derailed. Okay, for all the control freaks in the room, you know who you are. I'm in this category. The ones that have plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then you also have little number 1, 2, and 3 for every single thing underneath it. Your plans will get derailed. Maybe not today, but probably tomorrow. What are you going to do in that moment? What are you going to do when your ex-husband calls and says, hey, I want to come spend Christmas morning with the kids, but that wasn't in the custody agreement? What are you going to do when your mother-in-law changes the plans of what you've always done every single year? What if your mother just shows up on Christmas uninvited? What if your child starts saying tomorrow the thing that they really, really, really want is this, and you've already bought them this and they don't want it anymore? What if the elf forgets to move from the shelf? What if whatever happens? You have a choice in that moment. Will it be about you? Or will you choose in that moment to help prepare the way for others to experience Jesus? Some of you were like, whoa, 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 pump the brakes. We were talking about me. I was trying to get over the fact it's not about me. I was preparing myself for this. What do you mean it's about other people? The Christmas story is about other people. It's about other people experiencing Jesus. And friends, if you call yourself a believer, if you call yourself a follower of Christ, that's what we are called to do. At Christmas time and all the other 364 days of the year, is we are called to prepare the way for others to experience him. And how that happens is through our actions, how we handle things, how we love people, how we point in every single way towards him, how we go, I'm not the light, but he is. And what would it look like if you really showed that love to those people? Maybe it's the people that I mentioned just then, because maybe there's the ones that kind of struck a nerve with you. I'm saying we need to love and prepare the way for those that are unlovable, for those we don't even want to love right now. Some of you are going, please don't list those people out right now, because then you're going to affirm what's in my mind. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm affirming who's in your mind right now. Because God calls us to love those people, because even later on in Luke, it even says that demons are friends with the people that they love. They can love the ones that are easy to love. We're called to be something different. We're called to love those others. So what would it look like if we stopped looking in with us and how it's going to affect us and how it's going to impact us, and how could it impact the kingdom? How could we point our way to Jesus? Because we're called to do this. We're called to do the hard things, even though I try and skirt my way around it every time. We're called to the hard things. Do you think Elizabeth and Mary, they had a hard job? They had a hard job in front. If you think about their stories and all of it and how they just rolled with it, that's amazing faith to me, because they were literally raising some important human beings. Well, one was also God, so I mean, there's that with it. I'm like, I'm barely trying to raise 4 kids. Like, not even trying to raise Jesus and John the Baptist. Like, I can't even imagine what they were thinking. But you know what's crazy in all of it is, like, they were just calm. They were peaceful. And what I think that those 2 women could have really said right before this first Christmas, they were able to say, it is well. And I went, oh. For some of us right now, we want so desperately to be able, like, to truly say that. You know what I mean? Like, we can sing a song or something about it, and we're like, it is well, it is well. No, but like to really go like, oh, it is well. Things are crazy going on around me. I don't even know what's going to happen. I don't even know the plan. I don't even need to understand the plan, because I am believing and I am seeing what God is doing. And that's what I think we need this Christmas. I was thinking about that, and this word believe literally kept coming up everywhere. I was telling the first service, this was not my first sermon. This was not the sermon that I wrote for this week. I had a good one, and God threw it out the window yesterday. And for those of you that know me, know that that really is hard for me. But God just kept telling me this word, believe, believe, believe. And I was like, I do believe. And he's like, do you? And I started looking, and of course, then everywhere was the word believe. Even in the scriptures, I had already picked out all that. The word believe was popping up everywhere. And then my daughter went to school, and they had Polar Express Day. And so what does she come home with? She comes home with a bell with a little thing attached to it that says what? Believe. And I was like, okay, God, I don't need an angel. I just need a bell that says it with that. And so I was thinking, and I went, I really believe, friends, that that's what it all comes down to, is this thing of believe. And so, of course, when the kids watched a movie at school, you have to watch it at home, too. It's just a given, and we watched it like 5 times. And so I heard this that the conductor said in the Polar Express, and it struck me. And so here is what the conductor said. He said, Seeing is believing, but sometimes the most real things in the world are the things that we can't see. And I was like, yep, that is so true. Because for so many of us, we just want so desperately to see God doing something that I believe we're missing it, because God is doing something. You see, the key part of it is you got to believe in order to see. You see, he showed up to Zechariah. He sent him an angel, a billboard, a bell. But it wasn't until he could actually believe that he was able to see God at work. Friends, there's still time this Christmas for you just to take a breath and go, God, I believe. God, I believe, and God, I want to see you at work. God, and for some of us, we're like, I need to see you at work. But the thing is, you have to stop and go, God, I believe that you're going to do what you said you're going to do. I believe it, and God, just take me out of this whole thing. I just want to see you. And when we do that, then I believe we can start seeing the wonder of God and who he is. And that's when we get the wonder of Christmas again. And parents, imagine if you did that, what that means for your kids, and how just by doing that, you're helping to prepare the way for your kids to experience Jesus, for your friends to experience Jesus, for the birth parents of your kids to experience Jesus, for the foster parents to experience, whatever it is. Because friends, that's the meaning of Christmas. That's what we are called to do, because God had this crazy plan a long time ago that he would do 2 miracles to have 2 babies. One would help prepare the way for the one that was coming. Friends, Jesus came. He came on Christmas for you and for me, and that's what Christmas is all about, and we are called to just prepare the way this Christmas. So won't you today lay down all the other stuff, lay down all the expectations, the plans, all of it, and just stop and tell him that you believe, and then watch what he does after that.